I just want to acknowledge some great people that have helped me. So I'm actually the one that wrote the bill to repeal it. I'm not an attorney, so everybody asked me that. So first I'd like to say, just read them off. My wife, of course, she's right there with the camera. She's from Palmer, born and raised. My grandparents over there in the corner, they're actually my inspiration for writing the bill. My granddad right there, he had trouble filling out his ballot last year. So, yeah. So that's Ken and Ann Bradshaw. Many people in this room might know Bradshaw and Associates. He's been doing construction. He did construction up here in Alaska for 30 years. He ran a multi-million-dollar construction company and did work on every major military base in the state. I was privileged to work for him. Dr. Matthias, if you wouldn't mind standing for a moment, sir. Just real quick. So that, yeah, he's been instrumental in everything, making sure we're successful. Patty next to him, that's his wife, Jamie Donnelly, Dave Donnelly, Senator Dave Donnelly has been helpful. Michaela Osweiler, Lieutenant Governor Lauren Lehman, Senator Jerry Ward and Margaret, his wife, Lieutenant Governor Lee Treadwell, Linda Hill, Christine Hill, Al Smay, Lieutenant Governor Craig Campbell, former Attorney General Kevin Clarkson, Paul Giannet, and former Governor Sarah Palin. So I just want to make sure I get everybody in there. They've all been just incredible from the very get-go, just making sure that this gets going. So Alaskans for Honest Elections, you see up here, this is the initiative, and so this is the repeal. It's very simple. I want to address one thing that in particular that Alper brought up was the transparency dark money. We're not doing anything with the dark money language. We're just focusing on the ranked choice voting. It's really funny that their organization, I'm not trying to point out Andrew in this, the Alaskans for Better Elections organization has been very reluctant in advertising ranked choice voting recently. They're mostly focused on open primary. As you can tell in this communication today, mostly focused on the open primary, didn't mention ranked choice voting. I believe that has to do with polling. I don't think it polls very well. I don't think Alaskans like it. So another thing too is that they're the definition of dark money, and we'll go over that today. So going over this, we're going to talk a little bit about the overview of ranked choice. And I know this is fun to look at. This is actually from a pro-ranked choice voting group nationally. I'm not really sure who they paid to make that, but most of the people that I've shared it with believe that I made it and trying to make fun of ranked choice. It's incredibly confusing. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're only going to focus on ranked choice. I'm not going to talk anything about past state policies, individual politicians, or anything like that today. Just focus on the ranked choice voting system as a whole. This video here is just an overview of ranked choice voting. So ranked choice voting claims to be better, it claims to be faster, it claims to have higher turnout, and it claims to be cheaper. So there's think of that song, better, faster, think about that. So that's what they think they are. So we're going to go over each one of those things today.
We need to talk about elections. There are outside interests that are impacting our elections. You've seen the TV ads, radio ads, and mailers telling us all that ranked choice voting is simple. Hearing these ads, I am reminded of a quote by Mark Twain. It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. Mark Twain. We all know that ranked choice is bad for Alaska. Please see these two quick animations to show why. Lisa selects multiple candidates. Her choices were eliminated. Lisa's ballot is exhausted. Ranked choice hurts Alaska. Candidates who lost the first round can still win. Results took weeks to tabulate. We were last in the country for election results. Ranked choice has multiple rounds of voting, which is confusing to many Alaskans. Let's bring easily understood elections back to Alaska.
Right, and so in that, I just want to make sure people get an opportunity. There's going to be petition books at those two tables over there, so people want to come over and sign their buttons and stickers and fun stuff too, so if you guys can grab that. Now moving on, we're going to talk about exhausted ballots. So remember, they claim to be better, and so in that, they claim they get 51%. And so I'd like to quote one specific instance where Mary Peltola claims she got over 51%, when she actually, if you look at the total of the total ballots cast, she only received 48.4% of the ballots. So their claim of, and the reason why they do that is because they exhaust the ballots. So they take ballots and they throw them away, and then they rerun the totals. And that's dishonest in my opinion, so we're going to talk about that right now.
Did you know that in multiple races, ballots were exhausted? Exhausted, new term, I know. It has major consequences for Alaska. We need to break down how many ballots were exhausted in the U.S. Senate race and U.S. House race 2022. U.S. Senate race, 4.9% vote thrown out. 12,933 non-transferable votes, aka thrown out, or exhausted overvotes, blanks. U.S. House race, 6.4% vote thrown out. 17,063 non-transferable votes, aka thrown out, exhausted overvotes, blanks. This is on top of the lowest voter turnout in Alaska's history.
And when I say lowest voter turnout, I get in arguments with people all the time because they claim, they're like, oh no, it was this. It's like, well, go back and look at the percentages. I've proven lots and lots of people wrong, and I will continue to do so. We had the lowest voter turnout by percentage in the entire history of our state. And so on that, we were also last in the country for regular election results. A nice little quote here, a fun one. Sorry, Alaska, Super Bowl results won't be available for 3 weeks. So just like a nice little joke. So we actually made that to a sticker, and we have a bumper sticker. It's actually for sale on our website if you want one. So moving over to low voter turnout.
Why did Alaska have such low voter turnout in 2022? Ballot Measure 2, or ranked choice voting, was sold to us as a tool to increase voter turnout, which did not take place. The voter turnout was a miserable 44% in November. That is lower than every election in Alaska since 1976, which is as far back as the results go. Throughout the United States, both states had the highest election turnout.
So we're better and then faster. So we talked about faster than being last in the entire country for regular election results. It's not better, it's not faster. It did increase turnout. And so now we're going to cover cheaper. So why would Alaska want this? Well, it invited donations. They didn't. Per multiple news sources, and this came from the Federalist, $6.1 million came from out of state for Alaskans for better elections, and only $20,000 was raised from in the state of Alaska. So that by itself tells a lot. We went to Washington D.C. For CPAC, and just to do a we had a booth there. And during that, we actually had, that was a very surprising statistic to many people, so I think it's a good one to bring up.
While the 2020 RCV initiative, known as Ballot Measure 2, was sold to Alaskans as an effort to keep outside dark money from influencing the state's elections, it was out-of-state funding that helped push the initiative over the finish line. According to an October 2020 report by Breitbart News, for instance, Yes on 2 for Better Elections, a pro-RCV group, raised more funds from outside Alaska, $6,194,081, than from within the state, $20,000. Sean Fleetwood, The Federalist, February 14, 2023.
Notice how I use sources a lot in my information, so that way people can't tell me I don't source my information. So I was a banker, and one thing she did mention is actually my current business. Mentioned my granddad has been in business a long time, but I was a banker, business banker. I worked with Sean Parnell, worked with Lee Treadwell. This is when I was 20. I was actually the youngest Rotarian in the state. Lee Treadwell actually inducted me into Rotary, and today I actually run Swarm Intel, which is an artificial intelligence company that works on extreme use applications. And I actually have a quote from a gentleman at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory that helped me start that business. So, and he actually doesn't write ranked choice either. So next, we're going to go over voter education, ongoing expenses, and I'm going to go a little bit into a more of a conversation around this one because this is the key. So, I come up with these numbers of $3.1 million that we're going to talk about is voter education. That's specifically what the state of Alaska communicated to me, the Division of Alaska's elections office, when I was picking up the petition books. We sat down and had a conversation. We're going through the statement of costs, and so when you do a bill, there's a statement of costs. And that statement of costs, it breaks down exactly how much each individual thing is going to cost the state of Alaska. And so with ours, they said it was going to be $2.5 million. Everything else in our bill is only like $100,000, okay? And so this education, $2.5 million, they added it. And I was asking them, why did they add $2.5 million to educate people on a system that we've been using in this country for 247 years? And they said, The reason why is because on the Alaskans for Better Elections application, the state said that the voter education was going to be $150,000, and they actually spent $3 million. So that's just on voter education, and that's state of Alaska money, not outside dark money.
The state of Alaska estimated that it was going to spend $150,000 on ballot measure 2, aka ranked choice voting education. In fact, they spent $3.1 million on just voter education. How many private businesses get away with spending millions over the estimated cost? Ranked choice voting groups nationally claim that ranked choice voting is a cheaper alternative to traditional elections.
And so when we're talking about this, people, this is a cool one. I picked up that CPAC just from communicating with people back and forth. So I've done this a lot if you couldn't tell. But the reality is that education is going to be ongoing because people are turning 18 years old every day. And so it's kind of a funny joke, but it's just meant to kind of, as an explanation of like what I'm trying to talk about. So, like I said, we've used this same voting system for 247 years. Children, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, etc., all understand very simple. Who's and this is my example, and it's not anything against Andrew's. Just saying, who's dressed better, myself or Andrew? Everyone in this room could raise their hands, and we could come up with a tally and be able to get an answer within a couple minutes. And it's just like that's the type of voting system that we had. And it's very simple and easy to understand, hence my grandfather. So I'm actually using a real life example of the reason why I did this. And so it needs to be simple, it needs to be easy to understand. And so people are turning 18, remember, so everyone that turns 18, we now have to re-educate them on how to do voting. And so that means this $3 million, just the very beginning, just cracking, just getting into it. So who knows what it's actually going to cost long term? And that's it should be really terrifying for most people, especially when you're talking about, I'm a fiscal conservative when it comes down to it. So I definitely want the government to just blow 20 times what they claim they're going to spend on voter education. That's not my. So in that, ranked choice voting is not better. It's not faster. It's not cheaper. It did not increase voter turnout. So, and I'm not the only one that feels this way.
Ranked choice voting is the product of millions of dollars from non-Alaskan dark money advertisements, which were spoon-fed to Alaskans by a barrage of ads before the election. Dennis and Dorothy Smith, March 5th, 2023, Anchorage Daily News, letter to the editor.
And so we're going to talk about Kevin McCarthy and some other leaders across our country. So we are actually featured in Business Insider magazine from CPAC. And so in that, Speaker, U.S. House of Representatives Kevin McCarthy and U.S. Senator Tom Cotton were both featured as quotes in there. And so here are those quotes.
Let's hear what leaders around our country have to say about ranked choice voting. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy trashed the system, ranked choice voting, during a podcast appearance with Donald Trump Jr. Someone could get the most votes and not win, said McCarthy. So if you come in third, you win. What? I got a lot of second votes, I got a lot of third vote. What does that mean? Kevin McCarthy, Speaker, U.S. House of Representatives, Business Insider, March 2023. Ranked choice voting is a scam to rig elections. 60% of Alaskan voters voted for a Republican, but thanks to a convoluted process and ballot exhaustion, which disenfranchises voters, Democrat won. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton, Business Insider, March 2023. Ranked choice voting, is voter suppression. I hope that the courts see that ranked choice voting is not right for democracy. NAACP's Hazel Dukes, Stop RCV, March 2023. 95% of the people talking to me about our new ranked choice voting system were saying how utterly confusing it was. U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan, Stop RCV, February 2023. Alaskans, it's up to us. No one in the lower 48 is going to come save us from this nightmare of ranked choice voting. We must defeat it on our own. Let's do this, Alaska. Join Team Alaska today.
And so with that, let's talk about signature gathering. And so there's that quote from Kevin McCarthy. I was pretty proud about that. So it was really cool to be featured in an article with his quote. So signature gathering. So they actually hired an out-of-state firm to come to Alaska. And I know this, based on the news. I'm not the one that sourced that, but that same organization they hired to do their signature gathering. They flew people up here, spent $300,000. And they try to ask me if I needed help, which I thought was really, and that's like no loyalty among thieves. When we're looking at right now we're using 100% volunteers for our signature gatherings, of all Alaskans. We actually have 600 petitions in circulation now. So that's way more than we actually need, and a completely volunteer. So as by what they paid, we're sitting between $800,000 and $1 million right off the top of that. So that's pretty nice. And so we only need 26,000 because remember the voter turnout was so low, only 26,000 across the whole state. And so progress video update real quick.
Progress update. We have handed out 350 petition books, enough for 52,500 signatures. We only need 26,000. We have ordered another 500 books that gives us enough for 150,000 signatures. Join the team and help us gather signatures. Sign up on our website. It's up to us, Alaska, all of us.
I love that quote, all of us, because that's what it's about. It's a unity project. It's not a partisan thing. So that's the thing a lot of people don't understand is that ranked choice voting, we have people that are Democrats, non-partisans. The Alaska Independent Party as a whole has already endorsed this, so their claim that third parties like it isn't obviously true. And so there's a lot of things that are obviously wrong about what's been portrayed, and we're trying to recorrect that message for people. And let Alaskans know that you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. So we actually have 2 tables of people that are here specifically because they're supportive of us removing ranked choice voting. So this is just a fun little video just to give you an overview of everything.
What flavors would you like?
Chocolate, blueberry, strawberry, Rocky Road.
Okay, well based on our new system of selecting ice cream, we tabulated your state's choices into a very simple system that takes weeks longer to tabulate. Even though Alaska has a smaller population than most major cities, Alaska was last in the country for election results. Based on this new system that is great with no flaws, is that you all get pistachio. Ranked choice voting is anything but simple. Help us replace ranked choice voting.
The idea is that 60% of Alaskans voted for a Republican in the U.S. House election, and that's verified. I actually was questioned this also, and I would verify that claim today. So then that's in the special primary and in the special general. Like one was 57, almost 58%, the other one was 58, almost 59%, so pretty much 60%. And so with that, I'm pretty sure we got pistachio ice cream. That's just my opinion. So in that, again, I just want to cover this real quick. They're really important pieces, so I'm going to go as fast as I can. So there's some merchandise on our website, and then this is just covering a couple places that are also having similar issues. So Alaska, so they're, remember I said that they exhaust ballots, claim a majority when they don't. So, Maryville told them, you got 50% plus one, she didn't, she got 48.4. And of the total votes cast, and that's Jason Sneed, David Collar, March 2nd, 2023. And then Oakland's following relevations at Alameda County Registrar of Voters miscounted ballots for several ranked choice races in November election. The Board of Supervisors voted in January to have a registrar conduct recounts of 4 races, including narrowly decided Oakland mayor race. But over 2 months later, the recounts haven't been conducted, and the Registrar of Voters told the supervisors today it's almost sure it never will. Still, the registrar's mistake field distrusted the results and boosted calls by some groups of Oakland to recount the mayor's race. Again, we mentioned NAACP earlier. This is also by the NAACP, and they, because some voters may have been confused by the ranked choice ballot. That's NAACP, so again, nonpartisan. OaklandSide.org, March 15, 2023. Aspen, they voted for it in 2007, and within the first, it's called, there's a lot of different names for ranked choice, but this one's called IRV, so it's instant runoff voting. And their first one, they had a lawsuit. Oakland also had a lawsuit. Now it took months to get to a decision. Aspen was also, they voted 70% to get ranked choice, and then within one election, 65% then voted to repeal it. So we're not alone in that. And San Francisco, this one's kind of interesting. They had 19 rounds of voting before they actually got to a final. And in that, some people that have studied this case seems that the winner claimed a majority of the votes, even though they only received 21% of the total vote. So again, going back to that majority piece. And so there's just some quotes from this, and then there's some nice little graphs. That's from the San Francisco one. Otherwise, that's my presentation, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to come here.
Okay. We need to clear